Whether you're a first-time mom or a mom of many, there's always something new to learn. The how, when, and why of every new stage can be so overwhelming. So I'm here to share everything I'm learning along the way in my journey of parenthood. I don't have all the answers, and I probably never will. I'm just a mom, probably much like you, who simply wants to do the best I can to raise good, tiny humans. I believe there's joy to be found in every season of motherhood, and the more we know, the better we can help them grow. This is the Learning as They Grow podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of Learning as They Grow. I'm your host, Alicia Foster. Welcome back to everybody listening. It has been about a month since I've done my last episode. Just been busy living life and doing lots of things with friends and my daughter and family, but we are back on it, and I am happy to be back and be sharing things that I'm learning along the way of my journey in motherhood. So today's topic is actually going to be about finding your mom tribe. I think this is so important in motherhood, especially in just having a group of people around you that support you, that know you, and you can trust and confide in. A lot of motherhood is amazing and beautiful, and there's so many great things to experience, but there are also some very hard times, possibly some of the hardest times that you might go through in your life. So we are not meant to go through these things together. I believe that we're meant for a community. We're meant to have people to celebrate our goods with, our good times with, and people to lean on and vent to, and have support system around you in those hard times too. So on the last episode, episode 9, I talked about changes that might happen in yourself whenever you become a new mom, as well as changes that might happen in friendships. If you're anything like me, this might have been something that you experienced in your journey into motherhood. Some people that you thought were your tribe that you would grow old with and raise kids with, there may have been things that just changed between the two of you. And it doesn't mean that you're less of friends, but it definitely, for me at least, has made me open my heart maybe up to new people in my life, and realizing that it's important to have people with similar values and similar interests. And being one of the first people in my friend group to have a kid, it is hard hanging out with people who don't have kids, just different lifestyles right now, different seasons. And so this is something, if you're interested in listening to that, go back to last week's episode and check that one out, and then come back and listen to this one too, because there's just such a benefit, I think, in understanding that changes may happen, seasons come and go, just like in life. There's highs and there's lows. That's going to be the same with friendships, I think. And so understanding that there are certain friendships that may be meant for a certain season in your life, and you don't know why God has put these people in your life for a certain amount of time. And then when you change a season, or when they change a season in their life, you kind of drift apart, and it might be hard. And again, if you're anything like me, it might be feeling like you're like, no, I want to hold on to these friendships. I just want to be friends with everybody. But the reality is we often don't have time for those friendships. And you start finding yourself gravitating more towards people that you can call your tribe. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. So having the tribe is important, but how do we come about finding that tribe? If you're lucky, you might have a close friend or two that you just know. Those are your ride or die. They're always going to be there. And no matter what seasons you're in, even if they're different seasons, like those are your people. But not everybody has that. And sometimes having just one or two people like that is not enough. Sometimes you need other friends as well. So what I'm going to be sharing is my experience with how I found some of my mom tribe. I personally have always been somebody who has had friends in different places. I've never really been, maybe once or twice have had like a group of friends that I call my group, but those kind of come and go in my life. And if, again, I keep saying this, if you're anything like me, but I just think it's important to make clear that this is my experience. It might be different with you. But I just like to share what I'm learning and what I'm going through, because there might be somebody out there like me or with a similar situation. And I hope that I can connect with people in those situations and be able to say, oh my goodness, there are other people out there who are going through that too. So back to, if you're anything like me, you may have found some of those friends or those group of friends in your certain seasons in life based on where you work or where you go to school. That was, always an easy, obvious way to make friends when you were younger. And then now in this season of my life, I'm a stay-at-home mom. So I don't have a job that I have friends that I see every day and that, there's that instant, like we have this connection because we're both in the same career field and we're able to connect in that way. Instead, I'm having to put myself out there and make new friends in this season in my life. And so I'm going to start with talking about the first way that I went about finding these people, my mom tribe, was reconnecting with old friends. This was something that I actually really thank social media for. I think social media can have its positives and negatives, and sometimes, it can be a negative tool that people overuse or that people just become like negative people to each other in, and I don't really like that aspect of it, but there are some benefits to it. And one of the benefits that I really like is being able to share this kind of stuff with people through my social media platform. So if you are not following me on any of those, check them out right below. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. I was never a TikToker previously, but this is where there's a lot of people in motherhood that might be searching for advice and searching for things. So I went ahead and jumped on, and I'm not a person who really like scrolls a lot on there, but I have been able to share my stuff. And then whenever I'm in need of some advice or support, I can check out other people's stuff on there. And in doing so, I've been able to find people that I once knew, maybe in my early 20s, and in a totally different season in my life, maybe bar hopping and just being a little more crazy and wild. I now see them living just beautifully as mothers. And it is very refreshing to be able to say, oh my gosh, I have a connection with that person. I have a little bit of history with that person, but there may be a different and better version of themselves now, as I feel I am too. So I reach out to those people, and I have been loving this new season of my life and being able to reconnect with old friends who are now in this season of motherhood too. So that was something that was really helpful for me in starting out as a mom, as a stay-at-home mom, and being like, I'm not the kind of person that's going to be comfortable sitting home all day, every day. I think people often get burnt out, and I hear comments like, oh my gosh, how can you just be home with your child all the time? Like, I need something else. But I'm not that kind of person who could just stay home all day anyways. So I need to get out and do play dates, and I need community. I need people to hold me accountable and to talk with, and to just do life with. And so finding people who I knew previously was a great way to start that out. So I'd recommend, if you're trying to find your mom tribe, trying to find people that you want to get out there with, you want your little one to be socialized, and you want them to have friends their age. And often people think that that means you have to put them in a Mother's Day Out program, or, oh, wait till kindergarten or preschool because they'll just have friends for sure. That can be the case, but for me, my daughter is less than a year and a half, and we already have so many baby friends. And it's because I've had to make mom friends, and then they have children who, my daughter has just gotten along with great. And it's been so great for her as well as for me, because now I have people that I can turn to and schedule play dates with. So that is one way. I definitely recommend being somebody who reaches out to old friends and just say, hey, I notice your mom. How are you? What's going on? Whatever it may be. And just see where they're at in life. And say, let's do a play date, let's catch up for coffee, or let's just reconnect. And maybe just having somebody to text with or message with in some of those hard seasons, and realizing, oh my gosh, they're going through this too. Or how did you do this with your child? We're kind of going through this season right now. What's going on with y'all? It's very helpful. I think we're definitely meant for community. We're not meant to do life alone, and we're not meant to do motherhood alone, for sure. I wouldn't have survived these first 17 months without the community of family and friends that just really helped me get through those hard seasons. So that's my first tip, is reconnecting with old friends, whether that may be through social media or texting each other or whatever it may be. Just put yourself out there, and it may be the perfect season to reconnect and just realize that your old friend from one season is the same person, just a better version of themselves, hopefully, and you just vibe again. All right. So my second tip of how to find your mom tribe, how to get out there and meet people, is simply getting out and meeting people, meeting strangers. It sounds really awkward and uncomfortable, but it is so worth it. I have always been that mom that whenever I take my daughter somewhere, I'm kind of playing with my daughter, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do all this, and I'll be in the ball pit with her because I'm more comfortable around her than having to have small talk with adults sometimes. But when I've stepped back often and have noticed people reaching out to me or saying like, oh, how old's your daughter? And then I realized, like, you know what, they're alone here too. And they might also be like me, seeking community, but just a little nervous to make the first step. So after the first couple months of realizing that I'm not alone in that, I began being the person that started talking to other moms in places that we go. So we often are on the go, like I said, and you can meet moms pretty much anywhere. It is as simple as I made a list of 10 places that just popped up in my head that I have literally just had small talk with people. Some of them were just for that temporary time. And it was like, oh, that was nice to talk to an adult for a minute, or that was nice to hear that they're going through this too. And oh my gosh, I learned something new from them. Or I've had a couple of instances where are like, hey, can we stay in touch? Like, are you on social media? Or, it's kind of awkward asking, like, can I get your number? So it's helpful, again, having social media and just sharing your page with them or whatever it may be. And then before you know it, you're in touch and you might be down to do another play date. So quick list of 10 places that I have met some people, and I encourage you to get out there, try these places out, meet some other moms, and hopefully you can talk with them, and it's a good socialization for your child too, for your little one. First place is the park. Second, the library. This is probably my favorite one to go to, especially because I'm in Texas and it is hot, hot, hot during the summers. So having a indoor place to go, and the libraries near me have a story time, like family story time, multiple days a week. And so you can go and meet other kids your child's age. And so we always go just like 10, 15 minutes early, let my daughter play in the little kid area. And there's always a mom with a little around the same age playing over there. And then you just kind of start a conversation. And it's nice. You start seeing the same faces after a while. So the library is number 2. Number 3, indoor play places. Again, it's hot. So get out there and let your little ones run around and play and meet other moms. Museums, splash pads, or pools. The zoo is a great one. That is actually where I met one of my very good friends now. It was a mixture of going to the zoo, but also meeting up with a group that I will talk about in just a minute. My 7th place that I would encourage moms getting out and going and meeting people is the gym. 8, church. Church is a great place to have community. There's pretty much always a MOPS group, a moms of preschoolers group in churches. And this is a great way to meet people with similar values and that you can just talk to and about more than just motherhood too. My 9th place I recommend going is just inside of your neighborhood, community events. There are always things going on that are in your community, and that really helps that people are nearby, whether you live in The city, there's always activities in the city. We live in the suburbs right now, and one day we hope to be in a farm area. And I'm sure it's going to be harder. People are going to be further away, but there's usually always stuff going on within your county or your city. And there's events, there's festivals, there's neighborhood play dates. I know our neighborhood had a like splash into summer activity at the pool as all the kids got out of school. And so just realizing there's people all around you that might be doing the same thing. There might be somebody on your street that's a stay-at-home mom, and just being able to go for a walk around the neighborhood with somebody is helpful. All right. And my last one is volunteer activities. So I think that just speaks for themselves. Like, you're out, you're helping people. Most of the time, everyone is so friendly and nice who are volunteering. And so why not get out there and then meet somebody who is just so kind and willing to help others? I think that's a great way. And your children are getting to see a great example of how to be when they grow up and get a little bit older. Okay, so that was my list of places that I recommend going, trying to talk to people, being the first one to kind of just be out of your comfort zone and just saying, hey, like, how old's your child? That's a really easy, simple start to have a conversation with people. And no matter the situation of where you're at, I promise you, there are mamas out there that may feel the same as you, and meeting people might be uncomfortable, but it's just going to take one of you to start that conversation. And like I said, sometimes you might have a conversation and it might be like, nah, okay, that just kind of like went flat after a while. We did the basic, like, how old's your kid? Oh, this is what they're doing. Oh, okay, that's great. And then that's that. But it still is helpful sometimes to have people to talk to. But every now and then you might meet your tribe, your people. You might have just a connection where you're like, let's do this again. Let's keep talking. I want to get to know you more. So put yourself out there. You just never know unless you try. Okay, my last recommendation for how you can meet your mom tribe, how you can find people that might be your group that's going to like last for your life, your child's life, and you can just grow and watch each other's children's grow and children's, that's not a word, watch each other's children grow and just do life with, is my last recommendation, finding people in like-minded communities. So this has been one of the coolest things for me personally now in my season of motherhood, is realizing that the way I think and am choosing to raise my daughter is kind of different than most people, but there are so many women and families out there that are actually in the same thoughts with a lot of things. So I would recommend just finding those communities. I do think it is helpful. Don't get me wrong. I do think it is helpful to have friends with, differing opinions, and you kind of sharpen each other with your conversations. If you have somebody who doesn't think exactly like you, you're able to discuss, you're able to be more understanding, you're able to learn more and be more intelligent because you see things from another person's point of view, and you're able to have empathy because you understand, okay, that may not be exactly how I choose to do it, but I actually respect them and appreciate them. So there is a place for those friendships. Absolutely. I don't think you're ever going to have every single thing in common with friends, but there is something so refreshing and beneficial about having friends with very similar root values, things that you just are like, these are my non-negotiables, and with interests that are similar and just styles in life. It's really helpful having people like that because they often just get you, and you don't have to explain yourself to people. So no matter what that looks like for you, I promise you there are communities out there of people that have similar views as you. We could be on total opposite ends of the spectrum, and there's probably going to be a huge community of people with my mindset, and there can be a huge community of people with your mindset. And I really just think there's something so great about meeting people with those similar mindsets. So when I'll share a little personal story, two personal stories of how I met some of my like closest mom friends now, people that I talk with almost every day to at least once a week. And then people that I do play dates with probably once a week. One group of women that I met were when I was 18 weeks pregnant, my husband and I decided to take a birth class through a birthing center. We decided to try to avoid the hospital interventions. And this was at the beginning of COVID time. And there was just a lot of stuff that we were not comfortable with and didn't want to have to push back on in the hospital. And so we started looking into alternative options, and we found a birth center. And this has just opened my eyes to so many people out there. And I've just been so blessed with the people that have come in our lives since this decision that we made. And so when I signed up with the birth center, decided to try to have my daughter naturally through the birth center, we signed up for a 10-week comprehensive birth class. And in that birth class, we met for 3 hours every Sunday, and we were with 4 other couples. And I mean, you are like having to get into some conversations that might be uncomfortable. It is a test, kind of, even for, not a test, but it is a like therapeutic thing, I think, even for your marriage, just to see where you're at with each other and preparing for childbirth, preparing for one of the most vulnerable moments of your life. And you're doing this in a class with other couples. And so in the beginning, I think we were all like a little like, okay, nice to meet you, and just very cordial. And we kind of came in, we did our thing, and then we'd leave. But as you get further and further into the class and you get into some more uncomfortable conversations sometimes, or you just start finding yourself vibing with each other with certain things that you're like, I think the same thing that you think. I feel we might have a connection outside of this class. That's what happened for us. And so 3 out of those 4 couples are now some of my closest mom friends. They're my people that, I mean, in that first year of motherhood, we turned to each other at all hours of the day and night because we were all at home with a newborn going, what are we doing? Like, how are y'all doing this? How's this going for you? And there are things that have been different between our parenting styles or some of our choices that we've made with our children, but it has brought us so close just to be able to have some of those core values in place. And it's really comforting to have each other to lean on, because we are kind of different than what normal is nowadays. And where some people might not understand some of our choices and decisions, like, we get each other and we understand that. And so those people I'm so thankful for, and will continue to probably be in each other's lives. We check in with each other. We may not see each other as often as we'd like, because between the 4 of us, we have 7 children. And so it's something that is just like a close bond. I'm so thankful for. I have another group of friends like that too. It's a group of 3 of us. And we actually met through our husbands, having a mutual best friend who passed away. And we all happened to get pregnant at the same time. And so we just bonded, and we got really close really quick because of that first year of motherhood, being just like needing to lean on each other. So that was huge in my life. And that is something that I'm so thankful for, to have met those people through that class. And you never know, you go to sign up for something and you're like not thinking that you're going to meet people that you can do life with and watch each other's kids grow up with. But you never know if they're out there. So I definitely recommend getting out there, talking to people, putting yourself out there, not being afraid to be a little vulnerable. And God might just place these people in your life for a beautiful reason, more than you can imagine. In addition to meeting all of those great women through the birth center, I also, just along this last 17 months, I've joined a couple of local Facebook groups, so groups that meet up in my area. And these are mothers who have chosen to homeschool, or they actually are doing natural birth themselves through the same birth center. And it's like, we weren't in it at the same season or the same time. Their children may be older, or they may be just now having a baby, but we're able to connect instantly because it's like, this is something that we can really talk about and we can share our stories with each other. And it's just so great to have that connection with people now. And so that was going to be the next little personal story I was going to share with you of how I met a great mom friend of mine is through a local Facebook group. I know it sounds kind of silly, and it's weird sometimes to have to meet people virtually. This was not something I was like thinking I would do, but it was, again, COVID times, and I was a teacher, and my sister-in-law, who homeschools her boys, told me about this local Facebook group who just kind of had different views on COVID, similar to my husband and I's views. And when I say different, I just mean different to majority of the world. And it can be isolating in times like that. People can get very ugly and rude towards you if you have views that are different than theirs during these very dividing times in the world. And so this group had at least a core similar view on that, on getting out, still socializing their children, not masking, and still finding a way to live life. And homeschool was huge in some of these women's lives. So that's something I look up to. And I'm like, okay, I want to learn more from them too. But I just put myself out there, reached out to these groups. They get together for play dates all the time. I was very intimidated at first because I was like, all these women know each other and I'm just like this new person. But you realize that everybody was a new person at one time in these groups. And everybody there had just been so welcoming and so kind. And every single week there is a play date that I'm invited to. And so I'm so thankful for that. I don't always go to all of them because I do have connections with other people that I'm just busy, play dating with them. But when it comes to a week that I'm like, I need to get out of the house, or I'd like to go talk with somebody different this week, I know that that group will always be there for me. And in doing so, I did go to one of their events, and I embarrassingly was not interested that day. Like I just wasn't feeling like socializing with a lot of people. And so I was there, but I was just kind of doing my own thing. And I kind of just mentioned previously that it was at the zoo. And so I mentioned in the group, like, hey, I'm going to stay back and let y'all all go do the zoo and stuff. Like, y'all have fun. But if anybody wants to meet at the playground here at the zoo, I'll be here around this time. And sure enough, one of the moms in that group texted back or messaged back on the Facebook group and said, yeah, we're actually heading to the playground now. And so I was very nervous. I'm like, what if we don't have anything to talk about, but we hit it off instantly. And now this is almost a year later. This is a friend of mine that I meet with weekly. We share a garden together in her neighborhood. We garden together. We just talk about life. We're getting to know each other as women while we're getting to talk about motherhood as well. We're watching our kids play. She has a 4-year-old and a baby on the way. And it's just so great for me and for my daughter, just to have that community and people that you never even knew were out there. They're out there. Your people are out there, no matter your views, no matter your interests. You may be totally different than me and your views, and that is fine. I hope that you are able to get out there, put yourself out there, and meet people who you can relate with, who get you, who you're comfortable with. And if you're somebody with views very similar to mine and you're like, hey, I haven't found anybody who talks about these things. I want to know more about what you think about this and that. Like, reach out. I don't care if we're in the same state, same city, or we're states away or countries away. We can always talk. I have one of my closest friends, Lily. She was on my first episode. If you didn't watch my very first episode, she was my co-host for that episode. We talk all the time, and we live in totally different states, and we've only met one time in person under very unfortunate circumstances, but we are so close because, again, motherhood has just bonded us. And whenever you find people that just get you and that you can be yourself with, there's something so beautiful with that. So that's my wrap. That's all I'm going to say about everything when it comes to my experience with meeting new moms. I just really do hope for everybody to have a mom tribe, have their friends, and put yourself out there. It's so good for you. It's so beneficial to be able to talk with other women who are in the same season. And it's great for your kids to get out and get some socialization and just do life. So if you have any questions, concerns, whatever it may be, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me on any of my below social media pages. And yeah, that's it. All right. I will talk more with everyone next week. These are going to continue to launch every single Monday. I'm going to get back into the groove and get back into routine of this being available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify on Monday morning. So get out there, check it all out, share if you like these episodes. If you haven't seen any of the previous ones, go on back and make sure that you subscribe to your favorite platform so that you can stay up to date. And anytime I have a new episode, it pops up for you. And if it's something that interests you, I hope you love it. All right, guys, y'all have a great week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.